So these are the assembly instructions to my fall fun box. This project is made up of 3 separate boxes that are all assembled in the end. My first box is the box that has the frame pieces to it. These are the 2 base pieces, and I'm just folding down on all the score lines. And then I'm going to decorate my pieces while they're still flat. I have these frame pieces that are cut out of green foil craft board. And then I have these strips that are cut out of the same green foil craft board, and I've applied the lettering in adhesive foil. So for all 4 sides of this box, I'm putting glue on the underside of my frame pieces. I'm gluing them down over that square cutout, trying to leave an even border around that center. Then I'm putting glue on the back of that narrow strip, and I'm just gluing it down. So the top and the bottom are even with my frame piece, and I have the same amount between the score line and the left edge and the right edge and the beginning of my frame. I'm doing that with all 4 sides of my box. So now that my boxes are decorated, I'm putting glue on the side tab of my smaller panel from the score line to the edge, and then I'm gluing the cut edge of my larger panel to that score line. Then I'm putting glue on the tab that's on the right hand side, gluing the cut edge right against the score line of my tab. I'm putting glue on the next tab over, and again I want the cut edge of that side to be right against the score line of my tab. And I like to go in and spread that glue with my bone folder. So now I have my final side, and for the final side I'm putting glue along both remaining tabs. So the tab that's at the bottom of my box and the tab that's at the side. And then I'm folding my 4th side over and gluing it in place, both at the bottom and at the side. Next, I'm working on the box that is the base of my project. I have 2 squares. One of them has a hole in the center and one of them does not. So I'm going to take the one that has no hole in the center. And then I have my 4 sides, and I'm just folding down on all the score lines for my sides. For 2 of my sides, starting from the bottom, I have a tab and then 2 rectangles. And then for the 2 other sides, I have a tab, a rectangle, and then a trapezoid shape on top of that. I'm going to decorate all 4 of them the same way. So I'm just putting glue on the underside of my foil craft board, and then just trying to center it as best I can between the score lines and the edges of that panel that's right above my tab. And I'm doing that for all 4 pieces. And I'm taking one of my side pieces and putting glue from the score line to the end on the tab that's right below that craft board that I just glued on it. I want the score line of that tab to go right along the cut edge of my square. If I fold it over, I can really see that edge and place it right along the edge of my square piece. This is one of the sides that has those diagonal cuts to form that trapezoid shape, and I've got a second one which I'm going to glue across from it. I'm just rotating it and positioning my piece so that score line on my tab is right along the edge of my square piece. So now that leaves me with the 2 other sides, and I'm doing the exact same thing, putting glue on the tab from the score line to the edge, positioning my tab right along the edge of that square piece. Same thing with the last side. I've glued down my 4 sides to create my base. So next I'm going to work on the 2 sides that have those full rectangular panels, not the ones that have the notches cut out of them. So I'm going to fold right above that full rectangle, and I'm putting glue from the last score line right to the edge. And then I'm folding my entire side down like so. And I'm just spreading that glue just where my foil craft board is. And so when it pops up, it looks like this. Then I'm going to rotate it and do the same thing on the other side. Just folding my side down above that full rectangle. And then I'm putting glue from the score line to the edge, just on that first panel. And then I'm folding everything over like so. So next I have my two other sides. And again, I'm putting glue from the score line to the end on that last panel. I'm folding on the score line that's just below that trapezoid shape. I'm just pushing the two corners of my two sides underneath the diagonal cut and then bringing it up like so. I'm going to do that on the other side as well, just putting glue from the score line to the edge. I'm folding on that score line that's just below the trapezoid shape and gluing that panel down to the interior of my box. And then pushing those corners underneath the diagonal cuts and then forming my box like so. And then I'm going to flip my box over, and I have some more of that green craft board to put on the bottom of my box. So now we're moving on to the interior box, and I'm just folding down on the score lines for the two base pieces. So I have my piece that has the 3 panels and my other piece that has the 2 panels. So I want the joins to be on the outside of my box, not the inside of my box. So I'm putting glue on the underside of my tab and I'm joining it to the cut edge of my panel, like so. And then I'm going to flip my piece over. So I'm looking at the interior of my piece, and I have these decorative panels that I'm going to use. I have 4 rectangular ones for the sides, and then I have 1 square one for the bottom. I'm just gluing down the square one that goes at the bottom, interior bottom of my box. So next I'm putting glue all over the tab that's to the left of that panel I've just glued in, and I'm bringing up my side and I'm gluing my tab to the outside of my box. I'm putting glue on that tab that's right next to that panel, and I'm gluing the next side. Next I'm putting glue on the tab that's next to it, and then on that vertical tab. I'm folding my last panel in, and it's right against both score lines of both tabs. And I'm just folding it so both of those tabs are in place. So the rest of these red panels are to decorate the inside of my box. So I'm just putting glue on the underside of my red craft board panels, and I'm just slipping them in and gluing them down so that there's approximately an even border all the way around. And I'm doing that with all 4 of them. So next I have these panels with a square that is scored in the center of them, and that's just for positioning. So I have my box with the opening towards the top. I'm going to put glue all over one side of my box, and I'm positioning my panel so that it is flush with the top and flush with the left hand side, and of course with the bottom. It's going to stick out by 3/4 of an inch on the right hand side. And then I'm rotating my box. I'm putting glue all over the next side, so the opening is at the top, and I'm just putting glue all over that side. I'm taking another one of my panels, and I want it flush with the top, the bottom, and the left hand side, so it'll be right up against the panel I just glued in. So I'm rotating my box again, doing the exact same thing on the next side. So I'm gluing my panel onto the next side the exact same way as the previous one. So it's right up against the one I've just glued in. It's flush at the top and flush at the bottom, and overlaps by 3/4 of an inch on the right hand side. And then the last side, I'm holding it upwards so I don't want to crush my panel. Just putting glue all over that side and then just gluing it in. So now that I've assembled my 3 boxes, I'm going to work on the images that are going to be featured inside the frames of my box. I have a quick sped up video showing the assembly of these images. So I have 4 images. You'll see 5 of them here because for one of the images I knit a little sweater, but in the file I've replaced it with this image. I have 2 different colors of bases for my images, mostly because my pumpkin spice doesn't look very good on the beige, but I wanted to keep the beige. So I have blue and beige. So I'm just gluing down my apples, my pumpkin spice latte. And I'm just gluing down these leaves for my falling leaf image. So next I've glued down one of my rakes. I'm putting glue on the back of my bag and gluing it down. And I've got more leaves to glue down just around the base. And then I'm just gluing my second rake down like so, trying to keep it within the frame of my blue panel. I'm going to take my inner box, and so I have my pumpkin spice image, which is this one, and I'm going to put glue on the underside of it and glue it within the score lines that are on that green panel. And then the next one beside it is sweater weather. So if you're using the cardstock version, it would be this. I'm going to use the version that I knit. I'm just going to glue that down. And I'm rotating my boxes again, and the next panel is the falling leaves panel. And then I'm rotating one last time and just gluing down my apples for autumn. And so then I have these 4 pieces. I'm just folding down on all the score lines for them. I'm going to glue them to the interior of my box, and because I've used foil cardstock on the interior, I'm going to use double-sided tape. So this is the underside of my piece, and I'm putting double-sided tape from the score line to the edge on that small tab. So there's the rounded tab at the bottom and the small tab at the top. I'm removing the liner on my double-sided tape, and I'm positioning my piece so that that score line is right along the top edge of my box, and it should fit exactly between the walls of my box. And I'm going to do that with all 4 of these pieces for each side of my box. So next I have a small brad, and I have that platform that has the hole in the center, and I'm just putting my brad through the hole. And I have 2 circular pieces with that same hole. I'm just gluing these 2 pieces together. So those 2 holes are exactly on top of one another. And I'm putting my brad through the holes in the center. And then I'm putting my brad through the hole at the bottom of my box. And then I'm opening the pins to my brad. I don't want it to be too tight because I want to still be able to turn that platform. I'm just covering my brad with double-sided tape, and then I have a scrap of cardstock I'm putting on top. So I have the box that is my base, and I'm covering all 4 sides with double-sided tape, and I'm removing the liner from my double-sided tape. I'm putting this rectangle askew so I can see all 4 corners, and I'm carefully positioning it right over my base. And so now I can rotate my box. I'm covering the underside of my frame piece in glue, and I'm just placing it, centering it as best I can. I have that frame up against my craft mat, and I'm just going in with my bone folder and spreading my glue. And then I'm matching up my images with my words. I'm tucking those 4 flaps inside my box. So in the file I've included 4 cutouts for acetate that you could put on top of those openings. You would glue these right underneath that green frame, but for this version I elected not to put them in. And there's lots of room for lots of pens within my box.